Hello, welcome back to another live stream on YouTube. This is your host, Z, from the English Zone channel. I don't know how long this live stream is going to be, probably an hour, but you better have your notebook because it's going to be very juicy. So make sure you have a notebook so that you can take notes. Of books that I talk about, ideas that I share with you from my own personal experience and from the books that I have read. So, Ibrahim, Ibrahim, thank you for being here. Wa alaikum assalam. Awesome. So, I don't know how many people is here. I can't see that part of the screen, but that's not important. Well, the more, the better. But anyway, okay. So, I want to start with an analogy. Analogy. Analogy means an example that you can use to explain something. That's analogy. So, my analogy is this car. Look at this. Really cool car, right? Yeah. This car is made of what? Legos. It's all pieces of Legos. It's all Lego pieces, right? It's really cool. So like I can take it all apart. And actually, I built this Lego. This is actually my first Lego work that I've made. I made one, actually, my wife and I. She made this one. And I made this. Okay. So, what's the point of this analogy? Well, think of this. Think of this Lego car as a symbol for your life, right? When this first came in, it came in a box with all the pieces. I don't remember exactly how many pieces, but I think it was like, I don't know, 600 or 350 pieces. I don't remember. But it came in a box with all the pieces and a piece of paper for the instructions on how to build the car, how to build the Legos, right? And it just made me think that's exactly like our life. Imagine the box came and there was no instruction. Imagine the box came and there was no instruction. And I had to just like look at it. Unless I'm a genius, otherwise I wouldn't be able to do anything with it, right? But because it came with the instructions, step by step instructions on how to build the car, I was able to do it, even though I didn't have much experience. At some parts were a little bit frustrating, which is something I will get to, and that's really, it's going to be an interesting point that I will make about that. But at like some points in the during the process of building the car, I would get frustrated. Like, this piece goes here, this piece doesn't go here. It was kind of frustrating. But you know what? I did it, and it was such a nice feeling. It was a really nice feeling to build the whole thing and then just like look at it. Wow, this is my project, or this is my work, right? It feels, as a human being, when we build things and we accomplish, we get to the end goal, we get a burst of like feeling of accomplishment, that we did something. So, but what's the point that I'm trying to make with this analogy? Think of this as your life, right? But when you're born and when you go through life, Imagine you go through life with no instructions, no catalog to follow, no navigation. You're just walking through life. You have no idea what you're doing. You're just following what everybody else is doing. You're following what your family is doing. You go to school, you just follow just like everybody else. You start thinking like everybody else. You start behaving like everybody else, but you don't have your own catalog to build the life the way you want it, right? Why is this important? Well, because it's directly correlates, it's directly related to the topic of today, books, right? Because in today's world, unfortunately, people don't read books anymore. So basically, they go through life with no direction. The life is just, it just comes in a box and you just open it and you just try to put one piece here, and then you don't get a complete project, right? That's why you think your life is messy, or you don't accomplish your goals because you don't have direction. And why don't you have direction? Why is it? Because you don't read books. You don't look for information. You don't look for extra knowledge. You know, when after I graduated college, I remember thinking, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait till I graduate and just get a job, settle down, no more studying. This was my mindset. This was like, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Like, I remember thinking, I will feel so free when I don't have to read any books anymore. I will just have a job. But now thinking and looking back, wow, what a silly idea, you know? And at the time, I hated reading books. I never read books, and it was really never a routine, a daily routine for me, because I thought books were a waste of time. But now I can't go a day without reading books. And I'll tell you why. First, I want to explain two types of mindset. One of them, so they go hand in hand. I don't know if you have heard of this uh, concept, but we have growth mindset and we have fixed mindset. All of humans, all of us, maybe there are other different types of mindset, positive mindset, negative mindset, but when we look at our personalities, we either have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. A growth mindset, I'll just read the description from the internet. A growth mindset is how much you believe your basic qualities, like your intelligence, your talent, your abilities, can be changed or developed. Basically, how much you think you can grow, right? A fixed mindset is how much you believe your basic qualities, your abilities are fixed, limited, and permanent. Like you say, I was born poor, or I am not smart. That's it. End of story. No more argument about it. This is your personality, right? Or I was born in this country, and that's it. This is my personality. Fixed, right? As opposed to a growth mindset, which is what? Open to new ideas, flexible, right? Flexible like a sponge, right? You can you can move it around. You can make changes in your, like when I think about myself right now compared to 10 years ago, I feel like, man, what was I thinking in terms of like certain decisions I made? And that's a good thing, because we shouldn't be just stuck somewhere. Like if you look back at your life from, like, I don't know, 2 years ago, and you think your life is the same, that's a problem. That's a big problem. So a growth mindset is somebody with a growth Growth mindset is someone who is always open to new ideas, who's always open to grow, and they believe that they can grow, you know? And by the way, when we talk about fixed mindset, we don't talk about it doesn't mean like somebody with a fixed mindset does not read books or they don't grow. They grow, but within their own scope, right? They only grow for their own advantage. They don't think about how they can help other people. They're only thinking about themselves. Maybe they become, I don't know, scientists or physicians or engineers or lawyers, but they 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 don't have a growth mindset. They're only thinking within their own scope, within their own limitations, right? But a person with a growth mindset think anything is possible. I could be anybody, but I am also open to new ideas. Maybe I lived my entire life believing something, then I read a book, I say, man, wow, I was wrong my entire life. You don't let your ego come in the way. You don't let your past come in the way, and you are open if you think this is the truth. Of course, your inner values, your inner personalities, the way you were raised, the values of your family, your religion, those shouldn't change if they are the truth. But everything else open for argument, right? So back to the analogy. This is your life, and you have your instructions to follow. But what are the instructions? The instructions are the book. And I will tell you about like books for different areas of your life on how to deal with this life, right? First, your emotions. How to deal with your emotions. Because when I was making this Lego art or whatever it's called, when I was making this, I was thinking to I was putting one piece here, one piece here, one piece here, and I'm just thinking, this is frustrating, right? I'm getting frustrated. I'm getting upset because I'm not putting the pieces in the right places. Now I'm getting angry, right? So I have an anger issue. I have an anger issue, right? I have I have problems with my emotions. I'm reactive. So what does that mean? That means if I am a person with a growth mindset, now I need to go and read some books about how to deal with my emotions, how to deal with my feelings when I get angry, when I get upset, when I get sad or disappointed, right? So I go and read some books about how to deal with these emotions. Because again, in life, you need instructions, you need a catalog for so many different situations in your life. And one of them is learning about yourself, knowing about yourself. What 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 are you feeling? How are you feeling? What is your emotion, right? How do you deal with your emotions when you're stressed, when you're upset, when you're, you know so you have to go and read some books. So I look at my books and I'm thinking, which book would help me deal with my emotions, right? When I get upset or when I get angry. How? Hmm. Let's see. I'm gonna choose this one. First, I need to make sure that my books don't fall. So, I know I talk about this book, but it came. I just this was the one that came to my mind about how to deal with my emotions. The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Why? Because like I'm angry. Like this is my life. I'm angry because I can't fix or I can't put the pieces together. I can't deal with my emotions, right? So, what do? I go and start reading this book because I want to be effective. Okay, we have a problem with one piece. Habit one is what? Habit one is be proactive. Be proactive. In this habit, the author talks about how you are responsible for your life, how you need to take charge of your life. You need to take charge of your emotions. You need to be able to deal with your emotions. So when I read this book, I learn about my own personality. Like this is my life. So if I'm feeling upset, well, this is my responsibility. So I have to learn how to deal with it. So I learn and learn and learn and read how to deal with my emotions. And then I go read another book. Oh man, this is one of my favorite books. The Subtle Art of Not Giving. I don't want to say the word. We don't say bad words here. But when we read this book, a counterintuitive approach to living a good life, like a counterintuitive approach to living a good life. In the beginning of the book, this is really interesting. The first chapter of the book is what? Look, really, really interesting. I don't know if you can see it. The title is Don't Try. Don't Try. So I'm thinking, I'm reading this book. I'm trying to, I'm really trying hard and I'm getting all worked up and upset about trying to deal with my life, right? But I read this book, Don't Try. I'm like, what? Don't try? What are you talking about? I'm trying to fix it, right? I'm trying to fix my life. And you're saying, don't try? So and then I read and read and read and read. And then I learned that I need to take it easy, right? Not giving a, don't care so much about everything, right? This is the thing or the main idea in this book. It's actually does not mean that just don't care about anything. This book will teach you how to deal with your life situations, how to deal with with your feelings, with your emotions when things get hard, because life is not easy. Life is full of ups and downs. You come to a point like I'm building and building and building this again. This is the analogy for my life. Building, 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 and all of a sudden something happens. I don't know. Maybe uh, a kid is next to me and just throws the whole thing away, or I go use the restroom or eat something, and I come back, all the pieces are all mixed up again, and I'm just thinking to myself, I get so upset. You go and read and learn instructions on how to deal with your emotions, right? Because life is a paradox. What you think is good may not be good. What you think is bad may actually be a good thing. And that's one thing that he talks about. I'll see if I can find it immediately. Yeah. Like chapter 2 says what? Happiness is a problem. Happiness is a problem. And I really love that part here because he says pain and loss are inevitable and we should let go of trying to resist them. Inevitable means it will happen. For sure, it's going to happen. So, loss and pain are inevitable. One day you will lose someone or you will lose something. It's inevitable, but we should let go of trying to resist them. We should let go of trying to resist this feeling of pain or suffering. You have to embrace and accept it, right? And I'll get to the idea of pain in a minute from a different book, but uh, And at one point in the chapter about happiness, he says, happiness comes from solving problems. This is the biggest, one of the biggest takeaways from that I learned from this book. I mean, it's a really good book. But he says the best thing or the best skill to build in your life is to learn how to solve problems, because life is full of problems. So if I am trying to build this, and then I have uh, something happens, a problem happens, right? Or a piece is missing. Now, instead of getting upset, I should get excited because, wow, now there's a problem I can solve. Because this will help you deal with emotions. You know, it's the biggest skill. Like, imagine you're driving on the highway, and then all of a sudden, you you get a flat tire. And then all of a sudden, the sign shows in the dashboard that you have to pull over. So you pull over and stop, and or if you are able to deal with your emotions, you pull over and you say, "Okay, we have a problem, even though I'm going to a meeting or I'm going to class, I'm going to work, but this is the problem that we need to take care of right now." Instead of getting all upset and emotional and reactive, "Oh my god, we're getting a flat tire. Oh man." No, just relax. You have a problem to solve, and you need to deal with it. So, this is one takeaway from this book. I mean, there is a lot of things. There are a lot of things that you can learn from this book, but this book helped me to take it easy, to only care about things that are important, to only focus on things that are important. Everything else, just leave it, right? Catalog for life. Now, maybe you're thinking, okay, now I'm learning, I've learned, or I'm learning how to deal with my emotions, but now you're trying to fix this, right? You're trying to build this. This is your life, right? You're trying to build it, and you have some problems, and you need to ask for help from other people. You need to seek help, because a lot of people are afraid because of their ego, because they're proud to ask for help. They think they know everything. They don't ask for help, which is really bad. So now I'm thinking, hmm, I need help, but I don't know how to ask. Or I need help, but I don't want to ask people. I don't know how to get help. And then you're thinking and thinking and thinking. And then you see a book, right? Hmm. Because you say, "Oh, I don't have friends, or I don't know how to make friends or build uh, connections." How? Because once you have friends, once you build uh, relationships, then you'll be able to ask for help. You can't just go ask random strangers for help. First, you need to become a genuine person, right? You need to be honest and genuine in the way you ask. So, and then I see this book. This book says, by the way, it's a classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People. At first, when you see this book, you think, influence people? I don't want to influence people. That's negative. But then when you read it, you start to realize and understand that this book can help you build relationships. It can help you strengthen your relationships, make your relationships stronger, improve your relationships, and build more. So, because whenever I think about this book, I think about a couple of things. One of them is most people, including myself, are much, much better because of like all the reading and all the work I have done on myself. But most people don't know how to listen. They don't listen. They only listen to respond. You're having a conversation with somebody and they're telling you about their vacation or they're telling you about your problem, but you're immediately thinking about yourself, like your own problem or your own vacation. After they finish, you're just waiting until they finish what they have to say. You don't show any interest in their problem or in their vacation. Oh yeah, I went to where? New York, and it was really fun. And then immediately you think to yourself, "Oh my god, I went to New York too, and or I went to California. Let me tell you." So you immediately turn the conversation and make it about you. And by the way, I can't I can't have conversation with those people. I can't anymore because I used to be like that too. And I thought, oh, I'm cool and I can share my experience and so that I can appear cool. And I thought this was the way uh, to build relationships. But no, that's a very snobby, egotistical way, very narcissistic. But we don't know. You don't know. Again, you don't have the catalog, and that's why we need to read. So you don't know how to deal uh, with people. I need help to how to fix a problem here, but I don't know how to ask for help. So I go and read this book, and then in this book, I learn how to ask for help. This is one thing I learned, right? Dealing with people. And then you bring somebody and they're trying to help you, right? They say, "Hey, I have fixed many cars or I've built many Legos. This is the way you build it." And then you start arguing. Bro, why are you arguing? Again, this is another thing I learned in this book. What did I learn? I learned that we should never, ever argue with other people. And maybe you think, what? How can I not argue? Like, we have to argue because sometimes some people are stupid and we need to make them believe. No, you don't need to. You're not responsible for anyone. I used to think the same. I used to think, well, something that I believe is the truth. So everybody, how come people don't understand or believe this? They don't. And that's because they look at it from their own perspective because they have a completely different life. So you don't need to convince anyone to believe anything. So if somebody is building this differently, they're trying to help you, and they say, you need to put this one here, and you say, what? Instead of arguing, instead of arguing, ask questions. This is the craziest thing. So instead of saying, no, 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 you're wrong, what do you say? You say, why do you think this should go here? First, you tell the other person, I respect your opinion, right? And I want to learn because when you argue with people, they don't want to be your friend. And even if they're your friends, like, argumentative people, I it's so toxic. I do not want to be around argumentative people anymore. I like to have meaningful conversation. So don't argue. Because this is one point that he makes in this book. He says, people who argue, you're having an argument and you say, you know what, I'm going to beat the other person. Like I'm going to make them lose the argument or I'm going to win the argument. It doesn't matter whether you win the argument or you lose the argument. In either case, you lost. Why? Because if you win the argument, you, even though you won and you say, yeah, I'm right, you hurt the other person's feelings, you hurt their ego, and you hurt their personality. So they they always hold a grudge. They will have this feeling of hatred towards you because you beat them. And If you lost the argument, well, you lost, right? So either way, you lost. So don't argue with people. Instead, learn from these people. And if an argument comes up, don't be a part of it. This is another thing I learned in this book. Please take notes. How to win friends and influence people. Another thing, and this is the last thing I want to say because I can't summarize a book just in uh, 5 minutes. But another thing I learned in this book is what? Do not ever, ever criticize people. Not on social media. Don't be a troll, like writing a comment on something you don't agree and saying, this is the dumbest thing ever. No. Again, leave people alone. Work on yourself. Work on the relationships around you in your own life. So don't ever criticize people, especially people close to you, because when you criticize people, like you say, what? This mug is so ugly, teacher. First of all, this mug is not ugly. I've actually had this mug for how long? I've had it for like, man, like 15 years, over 15 years. So I love this mug. So don't criticize because what happens if you say, oh, this mug is so ugly? What happens is you are going to hurt me. You're going to hurt my feelings, right? You will become a troll. This is how trolls are. They want to hurt other people. But the other thing about criticizing is when you criticize people, there's something wrong with yourself because the way you see other people is the way you see yourself. This is the way you see the world is a complete reflection of how you see yourself. So just just don't criticize, right? Do not criticize. Another thing I learned about criticism from this book is that, and I made a couple YouTube videos, you can go and check them out. uh, there's something called emotional bank account. Emotional bank account. All of the relationships in your life, all of your relationships are based on emotions, right? Your relationship with your wife, your husband, your brothers, your sisters, your parents, cousins, whatever relationship you have, these are all based on emotions. So your emotional bank account is what? Anytime you have an interaction with someone, you either have a positive interaction or a negative interaction. Criticism is a negative interaction. And into your own, when we talk about your emotional bank account, whenever you have a negative interaction with someone, arguing with them, criticizing them, saying something negative, you take money out of the emotional bank account. When you praise people, like if you say, "Oh, that's a nice shirt," or "I like your glasses," or "Your English is amazing," you add deposit to the emotional bank account. What happens? You become stronger. You make the relationship stronger, right? Because if you don't, if you just criticize, say negative things, complain, even if you're married, in your marriage, if you every day this is the relationship, guess what? You're gonna go bankrupt in that relationship. And actually, your emotional bank account may go negative because there's nothing in there, right? There's a really, really cool example in the book. He says, you know, sometimes you don't see a friend for like, I don't know, 10 years. But as soon as you see that friend again, immediately everything clicks, and you start joking around like it was 10 years ago, and your personality goes back to that time. Why? Because the emotional bank account was not touched for 10 years. It was still there, especially if the relationship was good, or if he was one of your best friends. So because of that, your relationship stays the same because of the emotional bank account. So always try to build a positive emotional bank account, not a negative emotional bank account. This is another thing I learned. Back to life, the life analogy, the Lego car. Now, now I'm thinking to myself, man, what is the point of this? Right? My life is meaningless. I don't know what uh, I'm going to do with this. I think this is pointless, right? But this is your life, and you have to keep going, even though some parts are meaningless. You're thinking to yourself, I feel like my life has no meaning. Then I see this book. I feel like my life has no meaning. Man's search for meaning. A classic tribute to hope from the Holocaust. Then you start reading this book, and you start thinking to yourself, wow, the crazy experience this person had during the Holocaust, the Nazi camp. This person tells his own story of working as a doctor and surviving. He didn't die, but he experienced the worst things that a human can experience. I mean, you look at today's world, many people are going through very, very similar experiences as those people. And you're sitting in your room or in your house feeling safe and thinking your life has no meaning. But this person who had nothing from a world's perspective, he had nothing to live for, right? And at any point he could die, but he still had and found meaning and day to day conversations and situations. So if you are someone who thinks his or her life is meaningless, that's because you need guidance. You need to go back and read the catalog and figure out directions because, again, you need to learn how to deal with your emotions. You need to learn how to deal with other people. You need to learn how to deal with yourself and have a sense of purpose. So, man, search for meaning. And then you keep going trying to build a Lego, which is your life. Following and you're uh trying to accomplish this goal. And then you're thinking to yourself, man, what's the point? Even if I finish it, okay, fine. So, but you come across this other really, really cool book. Hmm. You've probably seen, if you have been a subscriber on my YouTube channel or on my podcast, you see that I talk about this book a lot because it's relevant to many people. I know so many people talk about it, but it's relevant. It's relevant to many people. This is a story of a shepherd boy from Andalusia, Santiago. His name is Santiago. He has this dream of building a Lego. I'm joking. He sees this vision in his dream, right? He has a dream that there's a treasure, there's like gold and stuff that he can go and find. It's his treasure, but he needs to go to Egypt to find his treasure. He keeps having this dream, right? And he's a shepherd. He has a bunch of sheep. And then, I don't want to give too much detail, but he decides to sell his sheep, use the money for the journey, right? Imagine if I have all these pieces, man, this is all falling apart. I have this vision, or I have this dream to build this Lego, right? But in order to build it, I have I really like this. Can you guys see it? Yeah. So I have this camel that I need to sell so that it can help me build the Lego. I need to sell it because this is going to be go on this journey to build my life, or to get to the end, right? So he sells the sheep, and he starts his journey. And then on the way, many crazy things happen. I don't want to spoil any parts, but you will understand as Santiago goes through his journey. He goes through very difficult moments. You will start to understand. You say, "Man, this is my life. This is just like my life, full of ups and downs." But you will also learn, or he will also learn, and you will learn from this book that the possibility of having a dream comes true makes life interesting. Just the possibility, because you don't know. Like, once you first start the journey of building this, you're not sure, especially if you don't have experience. Imagine all you have is just a catalog. That's it. No guidance, no help, and you have to keep building it yourself. You don't know if you're going to get to the end. You don't know if you're going to build it. But that should not be the main goal. The main goal is what? The main goal is the journey, all the experiences that you have on the way, all the lessons you learn, the pains and the sufferings that teach you so many lessons, right? Because if you keep going and you don't give up, you just keep going, you put one piece over the next, you one piece over the next, and then you end up building it, but building it was not the point. That was not the point. Because if that was my main goal, just to build a Lego, okay, now what? Right? What what's next? You will always look for what's next. Instead, you have to, or I have to, look at this as, wow, I learned all these new skills. Now bring me another Lego box, I will make that too. So you're continuously, with your experiences, you you build your personality. You become stronger. You learn how to travel, right? How to deal with people, how to solve problems, how to deal with your emotions, and all of that in this book. It's an amazing book. I highly recommend it. Now, I'm going to end it with one more book, because I think I'm going to have to do a part two for this. Uh, but in the process of dealing with your emotions, dealing with people, dealing with personalities, maybe you're thinking to yourself, I'm stressed, right? You're halfway, you're halfway building this, and you feel stressed. You don't know, you're only you're stressed and anxious to get to the end, right? And because of the experience, maybe you had so many uh, negative experiences, you feel really, really sad. Maybe you made a bunch of mistakes in the past. So you're thinking to yourself, man, how am I going to keep going? You're only thinking about your past, right? And now You have to take a break and come back to your present moment, right? You start thinking, but how am I gonna only focus on right now? My I need to get to the future. I need to finish the project, right? I need to finish this. And all the mistakes I've made, you're thinking you're sad because of your mistakes. You're anxious because of the future. You want to get to the future, right? And then you're just thinking, and then you see a book. The Power of Now. I know I've talked about this book a lot too, but The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And you're thinking, wow, the power of now. What does this mean? So you start thinking, because if you are someone who is stressed, or if you are someone who is anxious, then there's a problem, because you're continuously, I mean, I have those feelings too sometimes, but I have to continuously remind myself that the only moment that matters the most is the moment right now. Right now. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, right? And this is the thing that you learn in this book, to only focus on now. Because if you focus on the now, you will be able to fix the future. The future will take care of itself. And again, this is a book that only a person with a growth mindset. Remember, we talked about growth mindset, fixed mindset in the beginning. Only a person with a growth mindset will understand or grasp the meaning of the ideas in this book, because the author argues that only the present can free you of the past. Only the present moment. And why do I relate it to this? Because again, we said this is your life, right? This is the complete project. But once you first start building the Lego, maybe halfway you get stressed. But the only way to deal with the stress is to take some deep breaths and come back to your present moment, and come back to the problem that you're dealing with right now. Because another point he makes in this book is that if you really, really think about it, I don't know if I agree with it 100%, but he says, right now, at this very, very moment, not like 5 minutes from now, right now, at this very moment, you have no problems. You have zero problems. Because if you have problems, then you should be dealing with them. Otherwise, you have no problems, right? And he argues that this is the case. And because the problems always uh, have to do with either the past or the future. And again, when somebody tells you something like this, you start thinking, "Oh man, this guy is crazy." But again, that's because you're only hearing one thing. You don't do extensive studies, read a lot about a concept or an idea, and then when somebody says something thought provoking, or uh, you think they're crazy, right? But that's not true. So you learn, this book will teach you to only focus on the now, because stress is about the past. Feeling depressed, feeling sad, that's about the past. Feeling anxious to finish your project or to get to the end goal, that's the future. The only way to deal with life is right now, because life is now, this moment right now. So, this is another thing that you learn, right? The last book that I want to share about this is, of course, I have to talk about it. Is this is your life, right? And you're building a couple pieces of your life, and then tomorrow you're too sleepy, or you're too tired, too lazy. You skip. Then next day you skip. And then you start realizing, man, I really have bad habits. I don't know how to fix my habits. And you think that in order for you to finish this, you think that you need to finish it all in one day, but maybe you don't need to. You need to break it down into small pieces. And if you're somebody who is trying to learn English or master the English language, and you're only thinking about the end result, the final project, you're making a mistake, because that's not how it works. You need to first just start the journey, right? Just like Santiago in The Alchemist. You need to just step out there and go and face your fear and see what happens, right? So, but you think you have problems with your habits, and then you see a book, right, about habits. Of course, I have to talk about it. I have to. Oh, that's my homie. That's my bro. Akam here. Oh man, I really I can't wait to talk to you. If that's you, if that's you. But so that's, you see a book, Atomic Habits, and you're thinking, atomic. What does that even mean? You're thinking of like atomic bombs and stuff, but no, 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 relax. That's not that's not what it means. So you're thinking atomic habits, and then you read tiny changes, remarkable results. Tiny, very, very small, just like this, you know, tiny changes. There you go. That piece goes. There goes that piece. So tiny changes, remarkable results. And you say, and here it says, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. By the way, I read this whole book on TikTok a few years ago, and I put the whole book on YouTube. You can go and read it with me on YouTube. But this book really, literally changed my way of thinking about how habit works. Because you think of habits as, how they used to say, oh, if you repeat something for I don't know, 40 days, then it becomes a habit. That is BS. In my opinion, that is BS, because habits is more complicated than that. I mean, a few years ago in training, I did intensive training, right? Military stuff. Oops. But literally, I did training for like 4 months, every day the same thing. And guess what? Because I loved doing it when I was doing it, but as soon as I quit, or as soon as I ended the training, I just went back to my old ways. Not not that I didn't learn anything, I became more disciplined, but I didn't believe in all the things that was happening. And so even though I was doing it every day, waking up 4:30 and train, 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 you learn and you become more disciplined. But if you don't believe in it, if it's not something 100%, like you believe in it so much that your life depends on it and you want it for your future, you will quit. So, and that's something we learn in this book. He says anything in about your life, your purpose or whatever, any desire you have, it needs to be planted in your heart. If it's not planted in your heart, like for example, a lot of people contact me or comment, or they message me and they say, I want to learn English. I want to learn English. Like it's a hobby, right? Or I'm interested in learning English. So it's not, you really don't want to. If you look at learning English like you want to play soccer, uh, that's just, it's pointless. If you want to learn and improve and master your English, it needs to come from your heart. Like it needs to be planted in your heart. And that's how habits work too. If you don't believe in it, you could do it for 40 days every day because maybe you have to, but as soon as you stop, or other people don't push you or whatever, you're not disciplined, and don't really really believe in what this, then you will quit. You'll stop. So I even made a podcast episode a few years ago. I said, you become what you repeatedly do. And I added one word: wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. If you don't, you can repeat as many things as you want, but if you don't do it with your heart, right, you will quit. You will quit. So it needs to be like a seed that is planted in your heart, and something that you will get disappointed. This happens. You get turned down. You'll go through difficult moments, but the discipline, the passion, the purpose will keep you going. And so, the thing I learned in this book is that it doesn't matter how small a step is, as long as you are consistent, as long as you do it every single day. So imagine I have really really bad habits to build my life. Again, the analogy, the Lego is my life. But if somebody tries to make me believe that I could just put one piece on the next piece a day, just one piece, not two, just one piece. But again, I need to have a growth mindset to believe in this, right? Not a fixed mindset. And then you're like, if this is if this is 350 pieces, then I put one piece on the next, just one piece a day. And what happens? I will complete the whole project in 1 year. But here's the trick that you learn in this book. There's something that he talks about here. He talks about the 2 minute rule. He talks about this technique uh, that you only do something for 2 minutes. This is how you first start. You say, okay, I'm going to go to the gym, but I will only work out for 2 minutes. I know that sounds silly, or it sounds stupid, but as soon as the 2 minutes end, you stop, and then you go home. And you do this every day. But guess what? If you do that every day, let's say for 2 weeks, you start thinking, man, this is stupid. Like, if I'm already here in the gym and I'm going to work out for 2 minutes, I'm gonna work out for 20 minutes because I'm already here, because your brain starts thinking this is stupid. But you're already building the habit. And the trick about the 2 minute rule is, it sounds so easy, right? And that's why you trick your brain into thinking 2 minutes, I can do it. So you just do it. The same thing with this. You put one piece, you say, I'm only going to put one piece on the next piece. You do it for 1 week, just one piece. Then after a couple of weeks, you're thinking, man, I could do more. I'll put 10 pieces. And guess what? Instead of finishing it in 1 year, you'll finish it in 2 months, right? So this is the whole point about habits, that you need guidance on it. In this book, James Clear talks about 4 important steps to build habits. The first one is make it easy. It needs to be easy. Was that the first one? Yeah. No, make it obvious. Make it obvious. Make it like clear that it's in front of you, right? Like, if I want to build this, then when I wake up in the morning, I need to see it. It can't be in a box. So you need to see it. And then number 2, make it attractive. You need to make it attractive. Like, it needs to look cool, or you need to be in an environment or in a situation that encourages that behavior, right? If you're around a bunch of people who thinks building this is stupid, then you will not do it. So you need to make it attractive. You need to make it uh, cool, right? Same thing with all the other habits in your life. Like, you want to build a habit, you need to make it attractive. You need to make it fun. One example that he shares is, for example, if, let's say, you want to work out, you want to, uh, exercise, but you think it's boring, you don't want to do it. You can combine it with something that you like to do, something you need to do, work out, with something you like to do. For example, this is something I actually did this morning at the gym. I didn't want to go, but I went and I was just running and walking on the treadmill, and I played chess. So I played two games. I lost one of them. I think I lost both. But so, but make it attractive. Something I need to do, something I like to do, right? And you can do that. I could, walk on the treadmill for 1 hour if I have time and, burn 400 calories, or run or watch a movie, right? While you do it. There was a story of a guy who loved watching his favorite TV shows, but he built a system of a treadmill that he connected the system to the TV, the Netflix or whatever program or he was using to watch the TV show. The TV would only or the show would only play if he was actually running at a certain speed on the treadmill. So he had to continuously run in order to watch his show. Something you need to do, something you want to do. And again, not everything in your life is fun. You have to do stuff that are boring, but will make you stronger. They will help you grow and become more successful. So that's how you build your life. I mean, this is part one because there's so many other books. I mean, there are things that I want to talk about as like positive mindset, how to deal with or the financial literacy, right? Those kind of things. So there are so many other books that I wanted to share, but I think that's it for today. And wow, this really helped me uh, remember some of the things I learned in these books. But I hope that you took notes. And if you didn't, you can go back and watch this. This will be here on YouTube. But I'm telling you, books will change your life for the better. I mean, a very, very simple example. 5 or 6 years ago, I couldn't I couldn't talk in front of a camera, right? And anytime I read something or if I made a video or whatever, I had to like think and write and I didn't have ideas to talk about, right? Because of like all the books and all the time I invest in myself, right? There's so many things I can talk about, good things. And last thing I want to say is that you always need to look for the right knowledge, for the right books, because now today is the time of massive information, massive knowledge. The world is saturated with information. You don't know what's right, what's wrong. So you always have to look for the right information. Otherwise, you're going to be going this direction. You're going to be climbing the wrong wall, basically, because there's one last thing I want to say, and that will explain what I'm trying to say. In this book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he gives an example of the importance of having the right direction. He says, imagine you are in Chicago and you're trying to go somewhere, but you're using the map of Detroit. It doesn't matter how positive you are. It doesn't matter how, you know, how hard you're working. You have the wrong map. So it doesn't matter if even if you go like I don't know 5 miles, you will not get there because you're looking at the wrong information. Or imagine if I had this, uh, but the catalog, the instructions were for this, right? I will not be able to build it. So that's all I have for today. I will be doing this more often and I'll share more books with you. But I hope that the books that I shared with you will motivate you to to go and start reading, because I'm telling you guys, books can change your life. Books will change your life. So, thank you guys for being here. Do you have any questions? I will be here for a couple minutes, and I mean, I'm not very familiar with YouTube, uh, but I will, like, YouTube Live, right? I don't know if people ask questions, because usually on TikTok people just ask questions, and it's more crowded. I don't even know how many people are watching right now, because I can't see that part. But do you have any questions? My coffee went cold. Thank you everybody for being here. I hope that you benefited from this live stream. Please go back, if you joined in the middle or in the end, go back and listen and watch the books that I shared in today's live stream, and I hope that the analogy that I made will help you, uh, motivate you to start reading more books.